Welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm your host, Usha Kumar. I have here with me today Jason Coppola from the Department of Labor. And he is in the department that handles veterans employment affairs. Hello, Jason.
Hi.
How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you doing, Usha?
It is so nice to have you here. All of our viewers here would love to know how the returning veterans are taken care of.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure being on the show. Well, the Department of Labor in Connecticut has its own unit called the Office for Veterans Workforce Development. And there's 14 veterans reps throughout the state, including one director, Terry Brennan. And we assist with recently separated returning veterans from all branches of the service and all veterans who served previously in all the branches of the military.
Recently separated, meaning they resign, or do they?
No, recently separated is they recently discharged from the military. So they joined the military, fulfilled their obligation, and they just returned home.
How many veterans do you think are there in Connecticut?
Well, in Connecticut, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, there's approximately 10 to 11% in Connecticut are veterans.
So that would be what 300,000?
Yeah, about 300,000 exactly.
And
in Connecticut.
Do they all need help with them getting their employment?
Not every one, not every instance, every returning veteran or someone who served before has different situation. For the most part, returning veterans, they seek information regarding filing for unemployment benefits. In the United States, they have a program called UCX. It's Unemployment Compensation for Ex-Military Members. So upon discharge, honorable discharge from the military services, they could file for unemployment benefits in all 50 states in this country, including Puerto Rico and the U.S. territories, such as Guam and the Virgin Islands. So once they do that and they establish their unemployment claim and they start receiving unemployment benefits, they could utilize our services from the Department of Labor Veterans Department to assist them in all sorts of different things, whatever they need. Some of those things could be job search, employment assistance, referral services, educational assistance, training information, things of that nature. Normally, we are the first people they usually see because when they file for unemployment benefits, we get that information fairly quickly, so we can able to reach out to them.
You are yourself a veteran, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Where did you serve?
I served in Afghanistan with the Connecticut Army National Guard 102nd Infantry Battalion. I was there from April 2006 to April 2007.
So did this department help you when you came back?
Well,
or did you already have a job?
Yeah, I already had a job because I was a guardsman. I had a job before I was called to active duty, and I had a job to come back to. So I didn't need their assistance because I was fully employed before I left.
So what percentage of servicemen already have a job on hand when they go?
They can still utilize our services. We have all sorts of workshops, free workshops for veterans, such as resume workshops, training courses, orientations. We do a veterans orientation group where we run through all our services, things like that. And these same services are available for citizens as well at the job centers. I'm assigned to the Waterbury Job Center and the Danbury Job Center.
How many offices are there? Are they readily available to people?
Yeah, there's. I'm not sure how many offices there are here in Connecticut. I do have a slip here that lists them all.
At least quite a few.
Yeah, there is. I know the major ones are Bridgeport, Hartford. We have New London.
Do we have in Danbury?
Yeah, well, Danbury's a hub, a small office. We have one in Torrington, New Britain. They're quite a bit. They're local. They're called CT Works Career Centers.
I see.
Okay, they're spread out through the state.
And when these veterans come back, what do they have to do first? Do they have to come and file some papers, or are they already given something when they return?
Hopefully when they discharge from their branch of service, they got a little bit of information about what to do when they get to their home state. In our state, if they're going to file for unemployment benefits, their UCX, that's done through our telebenefits line. We have call centers in Hamden and Hartford, and they pick up the telephone and they file their claim. And then once their claim is completed, then every week we get a listing, us vet reps throughout the state, of who recently filed for unemployment, and it could be a recently separated veteran, or it could be a regular veteran who had a job over the few years but was laid off, okay? Because there's a question in there that asks, have you ever served in the military, things like that, or have you served in the military within the last 24 months? So we get those sent to us every week, and then we can contact the people who need assistance.
When the veterans come back, do they just come to your office, or any of their relatives or family members have to kind of goad them into coming here?
It all depends. Most of the times they do come to our offices for at least a one-time visit for us to give them the information they need, and then they could take that information and do what they need to do with it. Sometimes they come back for more visits, and we try to help them with whatever plan or action steps they need. It's up to them, an individual plan. So, for example, if a veteran came to my office and he just got out of the military, he filed for his unemployment claim, and he wants to go to maybe college, or he wants to job search, he wants to get a job. Well, that's what our goal would be. We would do that together until he reaches that goal.
Are these younger veterans? Age-wise, are they really
age-wise,
so they can go to school?
Yeah, we have right now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, U.S. Department of Labor, unemployment for recently separated veterans, they just recently separated within 36 months, between ages of 18 and 24, the national level is about 10% right now. And the reasons they're leaving the military, transitional issues, they completed their obligation and now it's time to do something else.
What is their obligation? How long are they?
It depends on what branch of service you sign up for. Some could be a 2, 3, 4 year obligation, or it could be more depending on what type of job skill you pick. If you pick something that's important, most of the times you have to stay a little longer because it takes the government quite a lot of money and energy to train you to be good at your job. So they have transitional issues, disability issues where they got injured or wounded in the wars, mental health issues, educational opportunities. The government has a great educational benefit for recently separated veterans, the post 9/11 GI Bill. They'll be able to use that money to go attend college and get some education and training that way to prepare themselves for the future.
Well, that's a really good help.
Absolutely.
I think about 10, 20 years ago, we didn't have that.
Oh, well, there's always been the Montgomery GI Bill. And as the years gone by, they've adjusted it and they changed the requirements, things like that, to fit the economy and the years and how we're progressing as society. But it's always been there. And it was created, I believe, with the FDR when he was president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I believe he created that, the GI Bill portion, and it took off from there.
I remember some of the veterans coming back from the Vietnam War. Many of them didn't find jobs, or they were not really helped in the same way, were they?
And I work with plenty of Vietnam veterans, and from the information I gather from them is, at that time in our country, the war was, I guess, kind of unpopular, and they did their duty. They came home and they just wanted to just get involved in either work or family and things like that. And the government at the time was going through a transition period where, they weren't forthcoming with all the benefits that they were entitled to at that time. It was just, a difficult time in our history's period. So I can only speculate that there were, things that they weren't told or turned to use their benefits. But it's great now because we get to help all the Vietnam veterans who come in our office and give them all their information that they might have missed all those years ago. And it's because of them and their generation that veterans like myself have a great transition to the civilian world after we come home, because you know what they persevered through, and they said that we're never going to let this happen again. So because of their turmoil, we have a better life as veterans now.
So the help is in terms of unemployment compensation.
That's one.
And then
of the portion.
training
is another portion.
And then helping them
Find
find new jobs.
And within finding jobs, we can do that in various ways. With technology this day, it's great because we have computers and email. We do a lot of job development. When I say that is we have what's called a local veterans employment representative, and their goal is to run workshops for veterans, and they also have to go out in the community and meet with local employers and HR representatives to try to see if they're hiring first and see if they would like to hire a veteran, and then we can pass this information onto the veteran and be a gateway between the two. That's a good thing that we have. We provide that one-on-one service to the veteran. So we do that, and that's good. And we do job development, cold calling, or just get in our cars and try to visit with employers. We do that.
I'm thinking that the younger veterans can go to school.
Absolutely, they can.
But what do the older ones do? I mean, they might already have their basic education, college degrees, and how will that help?
Well, when an older veteran comes into our program, you know, we just try to, first of all, if they're not so up on the technology, we try to get them to know that, okay, you need a good resume. Maybe they haven't done a resume in 20, 30 years, they didn't need to. So we have to help them with an updated resume. You know, inform them that a lot of employers now like a resume emailed, you know, as an attachment, tell them all about that stuff. If they want some workshops to brush up on some of their skills, we can do that. And then help them job search, we can do that as well. Or some veterans might not know about they're eligible for some other training programs if they need an additional training, maybe a whole new degree, or they want to switch career fields, or things like that. So we tell them what's out there for there. There are some opportunities for that age group.
Is it harder for them?
Yes, it is, I would say, because they've been doing something for so long, you know, they're so used to it and good at it that now they have to switch gears. So now they have to think about what they want to do.
What are some of the jobs that they are good at that they can transition to?
Well, you know, we used to have a really good manufacturing base, specifically in Waterbury. So those jobs have gone through the wayside.
Oh, the manufacturing jobs are gone.
So now they have to try to find a new skill, something that they like, they might like, they want to enjoy. Some of the things that I've seen them do is they like to do some CDL, a commercial driver license training, to get a Class A or Class B driver's license so they can drive some sort of truck. They like to do that. Computers, they know that technology is out there, so they want to learn about computers. Medical coding and billing specialists, they might be interested in doing that. There's several opportunities. Many of them decide that they want to work with veterans themselves, believe it or not. They meet with us once, they're like, I really enjoy what you do. How can I do that? That's a really great idea, helping veterans with help, with assistance. So a lot of them want to do that, maybe human services kind of work. So we try to point them in the right direction. If we don't know the answers, we certainly have enough contacts in the field through whether it's the Federal Department of Labor, the Federal VA, the State VA, you know, Department of Social Services, all those other state and federal agencies and community agencies. We try to network and get out there. So we have these referrals for them.
Is it any different now compared to the last quick war, the Gulf War?
You know, I'm not sure, but in my opinion is the Gulf War was fairly quick, like you said. So a lot of the military members, you know, probably stayed in for a while, maybe finished their career or whatnot. You know, we don't see too many of them come through our office. I've had a few on occasion, Gulf War veteran, a Persian Gulf War veteran, come through for service, but not that many. With these new wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, especially with multiple deployments, you know, soldiers have gone on 1 deployment, 2, 3, possibly 4 deployments, you know, so they sometimes opt to, maybe it's time to leave the military and try something different. The only difficulty they run into is that our economy is not so so good right now, and as you know, and as many of these viewers will know, the economy is not great. So if they're flooding the job market, and they're up against, people who've already been unemployed for so long, 1 year, 2 years. So the newer veterans, we try to suggest maybe they should do some training opportunities, use their Montgomery GI Bill, post 9/11 GI Bill.
What is that? What's the
Those are the
Montgomery
federal,
GI Bill?
the Montgomery GI Bill and the post 9/11 GI Bill are government programs that pay for veterans
Oh.
tuition cost and educational costs, so they can get a degree.
Oh, and that
or training.
covers for an entire degree? I mean,
Yes,
for a few years?
They can. It pays for the new GI Bill. Right now, pays for the in-state tuition of the highest state school. So, for instance, UConn. If a veteran has a post 9/11 GI Bill and he wants to go to UConn stores, the GI Bill will pay for that yearly cost. Up until their 4-year degree, and I believe some of the you can use for master's degrees and whatnot.
What are the other laws that have come into effect recently to help them? Like the Workforce Investment Act? Is that also part of the same thing?
Well, the Workforce Investment Act, that's been around for quite some time, and that's for all citizens to use. And veterans can use that too and take advantage of that training. Quite a bit of our older veterans, we'll say a Vietnam-era veteran, his entitlement for GI Bill would have been 10 years. It would have been gone by now. So if they need some kind of refresher training or upgrade.
What do you mean it's for 10 years?
Well, the educational requirements and assistance that the military and the government offer a soldier is only lasts for certain time.
After they leave service?
Yeah, okay,
From
exactly.
The
From the time they leave service. So right now the post 9/11 GI Bill, I'm pretty sure, is a 12-year entitlement. So if you leave this month, you have 12 years to get your use your
Some education.
Exactly,
Oh, okay.
and if you don't, you lose it.
I see.
So a lot of the Vietnam veterans, if they didn't use their entitlement, they lost it anyways through the years went by. So they can use the Workforce Investment Program, and they provide up to $4,000 worth of training opportunities and money for veterans and all citizens. And veterans get priority of service in the WIA program, so that's good.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so they can kind of be pushed to the top of the list, so they can get training quicker.
Yeah. Are there more veterans now coming back? I mean,
I don't know.
More retiring now than a few years ago?
Yeah, I would say there's quite a bit of veterans coming back, absolutely. Especially with, some of the, we know Iraq and the government says that they're starting to wind down there, so they're going to start discharging, and then, in a few years, whenever the wars just totally wind down, in the military and people don't want to stay anymore, we're going to be flooded with veterans.
How many are expected in Connecticut?
Oh, gee,
do you know?
I don't know. I don't even have an answer on that.
I think our president recently wanted to bring back our soldiers from Afghanistan and other places.
Yeah, they're
he
setting
said as early as July, but then now they said it's postponed.
Yeah, they're setting
What is
timetables in Iraq and Afghanistan, but those are just timetables. You really can't really go by those. But we're going to be be busy. Connecticut's going to be busy with veterans in the years to come.
At least by the end of the year, you think we'll have some more coming in?
There's a lot of people, especially Reserve and National Guard troops, are mobilizing to go to Afghanistan, Iraq, and demobilizing, coming home. We deal with them quite a bit. One of our programs, we're part of what's called the Yellow Ribbon Program. It's a federal program to give assistance and information to National Guard soldiers and Reserve soldiers who are deploying or demobilizing for call-ups for the wars. And that's when we go into these, I would say, there's a big group of families and soldiers, and we talk, and everyone's there to give their services, and that's another great program. So just by the
who talks to the servicemen?
Well, in the program, they have different groups. Okay, you have Department of Labor, you have the VA, the state VA, you have all these groups that give little briefs to families and soldiers about what their entitlements are before they leave and after they come back. So at least they have enough information of what's expected before they go and when they come home of the services they have here in Connecticut. It's a
Again, these
wonderful program.
facilities were not there before. I think
No, the
15
yellow
years
ribbon,
ago.
no, the yellow ribbon program is probably 3 to 5 years old
I
now.
see.
Yeah, it's recently. Great program, wonderful, especially for our National Guard and Reserve troops.
What happens to the disabled? I think you were trying to say something about it.
Well, if you're a
little
disabled
earlier.
veteran, yeah, if you're a disabled veteran, you have other entitlements that you're entitled to. Well, one would be an educational entitlement, what's called the Vocational Rehabilitation or Chapter 31 program through the federal VA. That entitlement is for service-connected service members who are 20% more disabled, and they need retraining and vocational training around their disabilities, so they can go through that program to get educational training and retraining, which is a good program, wonderful program. And that entitlement is for anybody who's disabled. So any veteran who becomes disabled and has a disability rating can use that entitlement 20% or more, or if they're lower than that, they have a really seriously handicapped issue, they can apply to the program.
And
so
they
that's
can
good.
still have these, they can still go to school too.
Yes, that's what the program
And
is.
in addition, they have
Absolutely.
other programs
Yes,
too.
they, the Voc Rehab program will pay
The
for schooling.
vocational
Vocational
rehabilitation?
rehabilitation program. Yes, it would. For instance, I have worked with clients where they went through Voc Rehab, and they got a 4-year degree in criminal justice or nursing, and the Voc Rehab paid for that entire program.
So where can these people find the most jobs now? In the healthcare?
Yeah, healthcare
Healthcare,
is definitely a growing job sector. Human services, working with people, that's another growing job
Is it
market.
growing in Connecticut? I know it's growing nationwide, but
Yeah, it's starting to pick
How
up.
is it?
I see a lot of job openings for human services workers in the nonprofit field, things like that nature. The federal government, they're trying to hire many veterans, so we try to help them apply for federal jobs. One of the things that the federal VA in Washington and the president, they want to hire more veterans in federal jobs, so we try to push veterans to apply for federal jobs.
are these veterans benefits, unemployment compensations and everything, are they funded federally?
Well,
or by the
it's
state?
different. Well, the UCX program, which is the unemployment compensation for ex-military members, that's a federally funded program. Because when you're in the military, you're being funded by the government. So the employers don't have to pay, and no employers pay for that unemployment tax. It comes from the federal government. That's why you're allowed to file in any state in the United States or from Puerto Rico or our territories. Okay?
Okay. So even if you started out from one state, you worked in the military and came back to another state, you can
Absolutely.
still apply from there and you'll be covered.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Exactly. You got it. Mhm.
So that's a real
It's
good
very
benefit.
helpful because it helps a transitioning member have some money every week while they're looking for employment or deciding what to do for their next career path or educational path. So that's very important because when you leave the military, once you exhaust all your leave and entitlements, you don't have a paycheck anymore from the government. So that's why they created that.
How long is it taking a veteran to find a job now? in this market?
Yeah, that's a tough one, but I would have to say, in my opinion, and I became a veterans rep in 2008, 6 months to a year at least. And I have a few clients right now that have been out of work 18 months, almost 2 years. Okay, so it is difficult out there, and many people know that. So, I'm going, in my opinion, I'm going with at least 6 months.
So they had their unemployment for the first 26 weeks.
26 weeks.
After that, what
exactly.
did they have?
Well, there's after that there's a stimulus programs, federal and state.
That applies to veterans too.
Veterans and all citizens, exactly. If they exhaust their 26 weeks of benefits, they can apply for additional compensation that are provided by the federal government.
So they'd be okay for
Well,
the time that
for the time being,
these
yeah.
additional amounts are given.
If they qualify for additional money and unemployment compensation, yeah, they'd be okay. I've had clients who've been on unemployment for over a year now. Collecting over a year of benefits, 52 weeks, still haven't found a job. So it's very difficult, and they depend on that check every week.
Yeah, even the regular citizens who
citizens
have
too
been out of work
work.
for over 2 years now, they don't have any more emergency unemployment compensations coming.
Yeah, things are
I
starting
think
to wind down.
recently, what was that? The Senate or Congress? What passes this?
Oh,
They
Congress.
Congress turned it down?
Yes, they did. So, all the emergency compensations comes from the federal Department of Labor and Congress in Washington, and it seems like they're winding down some of the extra benefits. So, we're going to see some of these extra extended benefits, go away. So it's going to be tough for people who are out of work and still haven't found work and losing their benefits.
Is something being done to extend that for
that's up
these
to
people?
Congress and what they're trying to do. Here in Connecticut, we offer, we tell customers, they have the info line 211 to go for to seek additional help. Your state Department of Social Services, your towns or cities and communities, they may have programs for people who are financially, hurting and economically hurting and running out of money. So there's programs there that hopefully that can assist them.
Yeah. When and how does a veteran become homeless? I've heard of homeless veterans.
Absolutely. Well, veterans, become homeless, in many different ways. One way could be that they joined the military and they moved halfway across the country, and when they come home, maybe their family had decided, maybe their folks, their parents they used to live with, if they're a person who joined right out of high school, have moved and retired or done something. So now they don't have that home.
They don't have a place to go to.
So they have to get their own apartment or find friends or relatives to live with. So that becomes a challenge right there.
I guess if there are other physical or mental problems
Exactly.
again,
There's
that
other
would
things.
find it
Transitioning.
difficult to get another job.
Exactly. So, if they become homeless, there's other programs. You have local and area shelters. The state of Connecticut Veterans Affairs, they're starting a program where they opened and renovating new houses on the Rocky Hill campus for recently returning Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. The governor and the state VA are pushing heavily to have these houses rehabilitated, and funding is through the state and donations and things like that. They're going to open 5 houses for help veterans transition for 6 months if they need a place to live. The federal VA program has a great homeless team in Connecticut, and they work with homeless veterans, placing them in subsidized housing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jason. We all owe it to our servicemen, and I'm so happy to know that they are being taken care of.
Oh, it was a pleasure having me. Thank you. And thanks for all the veterans out there who are watching this tape. Thank you.
Thank you. And for all of you watching it, thank you for watching. And until next time, goodbye.